In this conversation, I'm joined by Jason and Josh, who founded the wildly successful Popdarts. They grew the business from their garage to many millions in sales using just social media posts. And now it's so popular, they'll be having a tournament on ESPN in August. There's a great story, and there is some really good advice for anyone building an e-commerce business right now, or thinking about it. Enjoy. The journey to Popdarts. Can you take me through what led you to starting the company and where the idea came from?
I'll let Josh handle that one since that's his bread and butter. That's where he first came up with it.
Yeah, so how we came up with the idea, I went axe throwing and I was really bad at it, but had a lot of fun. And it was right when COVID was kind of hitting and a bunch of my friends went out. Anyway, loved the idea of throwing something and having it stick to a target. Looked on the market, I went home and I was like, yeah, there's really not anything else like this on the market where you can play indoors. There's some kid stuff like with suction cups and different things that I was like, oh, that's kind of cheesy. Wanted it to make it a little bit more sporty. So yeah, thought of the idea, basically silicone and suction cup, silicone safe, suction cup stick. So I hit up my brother. We were constantly kind of coming up with ideas, whether it was products or services. And the folder of ideas, there's way more bad ideas than good ideas. This one felt like a good idea. So I ran it by Jason and I was like, hey, I think we have something here. And then we together kind of started, as we do, try to make things competitive. So we started brainstorming on a few different things. How do we make this into a game that people can really enjoy and actually find competitive? And that's kind of where it started from.
And in terms of getting that off the ground, what were those sort of initial steps? Anything with patents or that kind of thing, as you mentioned?
I'll let you continue running with that part.
Yeah, when we got off the ground, I mean, really, we thought, okay, we need to get it into a bunch of people's hands that aren't us and our friends. Because, it's one thing when your friends get it and they're like, oh, yeah, I love your game, super cool. But it's just not really the opinion that you need. You need somebody to really critique it. So we were like, all right, we need to get this into the hands of a lot of people that are, disinterested and just get a kind of, an outsider's opinion. So we sent it to 100 different people. We went and got prototypes, I guess I should say first, and went through the whole process of engineering the dart and making sure that it would fly right and all of that. But then once we had the product that we're like, yeah, this is good, let's move forward with this. We went straight into kind of this test where send it to a bunch of people for them to use it, play with it, get feedback. I think, Chase, I don't know, how many questions did we have on that survey?
I don't know, like 30 maybe?
Yeah.
It's a decent amount. One thing I will say too, with your friends and family, if any listeners are thinking like, oh, I showed this idea to my mom or my friends or whatever, like it's one, like some of them, they'll support you and they'll be like, oh, great. But like, also, all those people know you from Adam. So like when they look at your idea, it's going to be through a completely different lens than a customer is going to look through that. And then also like your friends and family may not also be your customer. So you always have to keep that in mind because you can't be discouraged by that because a lot of people will be like, yeah, your friends and family will always support you. But we had a lot of friends and family that were like, this is kind of dumb.
Yeah, right.
But like also we knew who we were marketing it to and we knew that we loved it and thought it was a blast because like we're super competitive. Like I'm the kind of guy that doesn't want to go over for dinner and drinks at friend's house and sit there and just, sit around an island. Like I want to do something and have fun. So that's who we were selling it to. So I just wanted to add that too, because a lot of people think friends and family will always encourage you, but that's also not always the case.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you choose that set of 100 people?
It was just a random group, used a third party just to kind of make it very, very random. But again, those results, as we learned, could be skewed as well because these are 100 random people. Again, not 100 people that were like, hey, these people will be interested in our product. And at the time, we did not have everything massaged out yet either. So rules we didn't have established yet. Our packaging wasn't established yet. Like, so all the like things that would help like a consumer understand what game you're trying to get across, we did not have there. So surprisingly, we actually got pretty good feedback. but a lot of it wasn't good feedback. But we still believed in what we were doing, so we just kept marching forward and kind of took it with a grain of salt, knowing like, hey, yeah, we don't quite have our ducks in a row yet, but at least this is a step in the right direction. The people that do get it, get it. People that don't get it just aren't our customers.
Yeah, one of the funny things like early on, and the reason almost all of the negative feedback was like, these don't stick. And we're like, that's so weird. Like we made the suction cups so that they stick to things. And we're like, why are people saying this doesn't stick? But then we looked on our packaging and it was so like, it was just Jason and I on Canva or something at the time making artwork. And it was not artwork. It was horrendous. It was just literally a line and another horizontal line and a vertical line and a stick figure on it, like playing. And we were thinking, oh, they'll get it. Just throw it at like a refrigerator. But the people were like, oh, this is a wall. So they were taking these and throwing them up against their wall. And paint is just not ideal. It's textured, a little bit bumpy. There's imperfections. So all of them are saying, oh, it doesn't stick because, again, we told them to throw it up against a wall. It's feedback that we took, but it's great feedback because you get it from the customer and you're like, okay, well, then our messaging, what was wrong? Not the product, the messaging. So that was a big kind of learning experience through that whole thing.
Yeah, really useful. How did your backgrounds and kind of what you were doing before Popdarts help you out in starting it?
I would say they weren't enjoyable enough for us to want to keep doing them. So we wanted to start something else. That could be the main thing. But also, I think we both like learned a lot of things from both of our backgrounds. And Josh was like on the entrepreneur side, finance. I was on the software side, had some like side hustles that I was doing and stuff like that. So I learned a lot about like B2B business relationships, negotiation, all that kind of stuff. We both kind of really figured out like when a problem comes up, you just figure out how to get past it. I would say that's the biggest thing is like with entrepreneurship and with starting your own business, that's probably one of the most frustrating things. It's just, as you know, I'm sure starting anything, even a podcast, you're gonna run into something like, what software do I use? You start using one and one's not gonna work out the way it should. And then like, you just got to figure out, you have to be the type of person that is like, okay, what's next? There's got to be a solution out there. And if there isn't, then we'll find it or we'll make it.
Yeah. Just being driven, honestly. I mean, there's not a lot that translates from the financial world in that industry of like life insurance, investments, products, that kind of thing into toys and games and recreational sports. But just I think the thing that I took away was like in sales specifically, you're told no constantly. You're like, you're offering up a product or a solution and you're told, no, that doesn't fit. It doesn't work. And I think being able to combat those no's and turn those no's into yeses has really translated into this where, we come up with problems all the time, or problems hit us, whether we like it or not, all the time. And it's just, how do you come up with a solution?
How do you split your responsibilities between the two of you?
It's kind of a funny story because I think we were both working full time at the time still for both of our jobs when we were, because obviously, and I would say that as a piece of advice, if somebody's looking to start something, if you want to be stressed out up to your neck, quit your job and just go for it. But I would say that's also fairly foolish. We both kept our jobs for the first several months until we got through all the data work of filing patents and trademarks and all the legalities, website, and figuring out social media and like getting everything running. But so on that note, we got our social media running, started posting. We finally had a few posts that went like kind of viral. Like our first one, I think got like 80,000 views that actually got past like 5,000. We're like, dang, that's really good. And we're kind of like going crazy. Like this is kind of wild. This is the first like from our personal accounts or business accounts like that we've ever gotten a post to do that well. But we just kept iterating things that worked and then adjusting a little bit for each one and then repeating that process. And then we finally hit a post that got 22 million views and it just went crazy. Website started going crazy. Actually, we didn't have the website, did we?
We immediately put the website together. As soon as we're
Yeah.
like, oh, this is, I think it was at the 80,000 view video. We're like, oh, a couple people are asking, where can I order this? What can I do? So we had a little bit of runway, and then we were putting the website together. And that's when, it started at 8 million. That's that video he's talking about. And then it went like in 3 days, it was at 8 million. And then from there, it went up to 10, 15 million. And within 2 weeks, it was over 20 million. So orders.
And when we say
flooding.
website too, just to clarify, that's a Shopify store that has a header and one product on it.
There's a
That
brochure.
was one picture that we took on our countertop with a pre-order tag, because we didn't even have any product yet. But we're like, we need to start taking orders and start capitalizing on this a little bit. So to answer your original question, long-windedly, we went viral, and then we both were just like, oh boy, we have a lot of stuff to do. So then I would start tackling something, Josh would start tackling something, and we just did not have the capacity to both be working on anything at the same time. So our roles kind of just define themselves as like, oh, I'll do this, or I'll do this. And like, we put a little bit of thought into like who should do what based on our experience, but it was really just like, as something came up, if he was working on something, I would take care of it. If I was working on something, he would take care of it. And then whenever we had bandwidth to shift a little bit, then we kind of come together and be like, okay, should I be doing this finance portion? Probably not. You can do that if that's your background. So, but we kind of just fell into it, to be transparent.
Yeah. And so it's because you often have the sort of slower organic growth story. Whereas with you guys, it seemed like it was kind of immediate and shit. What do we do about this? Was it, what platform were you getting those views from?
That was on TikTok. That was 2021, early 2021, like March. Now TikTok, I forget when TikTok was Musical.ly before that, but when TikTok really became TikTok, I think it was around 2019, 2020. So yeah, that's when things were really blowing up. There weren't a ton of people on the platform, so it's definitely a little bit easier to go viral then. A lot of people asked, like, was it luck or was it skill? I think it was a little bit of both. But definitely a little bit of luck in terms of our style of content, not being used to creating content, but because the platform was pretty new, we could learn it a lot more easily than someone might be able to now.
And early on, apart from not having a website, were there any kind of challenges that you faced, anything that sticks out that might have sort of derailed you as you'd sort of got going a little bit more?
Yeah.
How much time do we have?
No, none at all. It was smooth sailing. Nothing went wrong. It was perfect. No, there's just like, it's like, where do you start? I think in the going with the worst experience, kind of the biggest hurdle that we had to overcome was as a result of that viral video and then starting to take pre-orders. We were like, okay, here's our deadline. Here's what our supplier is saying. They're going to get us the product by this time. And we're like, okay, well, we can take up to 2,000 orders and we can have it to the customer by X date. So we would kind of wrap a pre-order band and say, okay, this is our round, what we thought was going to be only round 1 of pre-orders. And it quickly turned into round 2, round 3, round 4. I think we got up to round 5 of pre-orders where we had to keep telling the customer, okay, you're in this round. Delivery date is here. Round 1's delivery date is here. Anyway, we started getting product in, and round 2, first round, I think was 2,000 units we ordered. Next round was 4,000. Then each time I felt like, oh my gosh, they're still coming in, because we had multiple viral videos after that that just kept going and kept kind of fueling it. So we went and just kept having to double the orders to our supplier, which is crazy. So 2,000 went to 4,000, went to 8,000, ultimately went to like 16 to 20,000. I can't remember the exact number. But on that order, our largest order, I get the shipment into my garage, which we're like fulfilling out of my basement, getting the boxes into my garage. I'm, taking a dolly around the house, putting them in my basement, and I open the box and all of the darts are just like crooked or bent or warped, just completely defect. So our supplier at the time, they are no longer our supplier, changed the material or changed how they were stored and somehow just completely messed up the darts. So that was hurdle.
So it didn't help that all of these we were air shipping. So it's like you live and learn. We air shipped our first 4 shipments that were smaller. So it was a combination of those were fine because they're in the belly of a plane. And then it comes to be July, August. And then we ordered 20,000 units to try to get ahead of it. So then they shipped those in a container in July and August on a boat for 35 days. And pair that with them changing the material to be a little bit more plasticky than 100% silicone. And then also them shoving as many as they can in a master carton because they thought it would save them on shipping when they charged us the same rate. So they tried to get away with a few things and we got them, and that was our first nightmare because we had a lot of customers who, and another thing you live and learn is communication is so key. You can't just send one email and say, hey, your order's going to be here now. Like at this date, you got to send 7 emails every 2 days to let them know, like, hey, here's the process with your order and here's what's going on, because customer service that's unfortunately one of the things that I fell into. And I remember I'd be up until 2 a.m. many nights just responding to emails saying like, I'm so sorry for the delay, and like talking with everybody. So setting the right expectations is clutch, especially when it comes to pre-orders specifically.
Did you have any sort of lingering impact from that? So angry customers kind of leaving things online?
So fortunately, we came up with a solution, and that's part of the, like when you said in your first question is like, what does it require of somebody to start something like this? It's to be anxiously finding a solution to problems. And one thing that we found is that with silicone, we just, Google and YouTube was our like EDU at the time, like all things educational. We were either looking up online or on YouTube. GPT wasn't a thing yet, so we didn't have the ability to really just use that. But we found out that mold memory is a thing. So silicone has like a memory when it comes out of the mold. And if you heat it up to a certain level, it kind of reshapes to that memory that it once was coming out of the mold. So, well, heating it up is, 1,000 ways to do it. We tried a lot of different ways. We tried like baking them in an oven. We tried like boiling them in like a massive like cauldron. Like we tried even like putting them out on a black tarp in the middle of the summer. Like every single thing that we could think, we were trying to get them hot enough to not melt, but hot enough to kind of get back to shape. The thing that worked was putting them in high heat dryers on a spin cycle for like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And we get it hot enough inside and they would be spinning so they wouldn't be like crammed and smushed. I found myself for the next 3 or 4 months, maybe longer, I tried to block it out of my brain how much of a nightmare it was. But at a local laundromat with 8 to 9 dryers full, just spinning, these things spinning around in circles. And we would just take bags and bags full there, there would be like, say if there was 100 darts and there's thousands, but say out of 100 darts that were crooked, we could get about 50% of them back to shape. So
you must have got some interesting looks.
Tons of interesting looks, lots of questions. It was kind of like you would get the first glance, like, what the heck is that? And then they would see me taking it in and out, and they'd be like, okay, that's the weird guy. I gotta talk to him and find out what's going on. But you gotta do what you gotta do. And looks aside,
local advertising for you as well there.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Not sure. Definitely. Not the advertising I wanted to do. Is all of our product is crap right now, and I'm trying to make it better. But that was that, to answer your question, that's what we were able to kind of do to overcome that hurdle.
It sounds like chaos from day one, pretty much. Yes. Hopefully things are a lot more smooth these days.
Yes.
So in terms of your kind of marketing engine now, do you do a lot of the same kinds of things? You're posting on organic videos, or?
Yeah, it seems like the landscape is always shifting. And like, I feel like the theme of this conversation is always just like, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about starting a business and you have trouble overcoming obstacles, just like forget it. Like honestly, I watched one interview with Elon Musk, and they asked him They're like, would you recommend, he was like interviewing at some business school, I think. He's like, what would you recommend? Like, how much do you love being an entrepreneur? And he like looked the professor and the student straight in the face, and he was just like, don't do it. You will not enjoy this. So Elon Musk is crazy because I don't know how he's running all the businesses he's running. We're running one and it's busy, and it's a suction cup game. So I can't imagine him. But so the point of that is nothing is going to work forever. It might continue. We're still doing social media, obviously. Like, we still post all the time. That's still a huge priority for us. We take it very seriously. We have monthly, weekly, daily calls about our social platforms, making sure that we're keeping the most entertaining. Every post has a specific, not call to action, but it has a specific, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, point, really. Like, are we trying to get top of funnel? Or are we just trying to get exposure? Or are we trying to get them to know and understand the game? Are we trying to get them familiar with the brand? And each one of those posts throughout 60 to 90 of them that we post every month is very intentional. So that is very much part of that strategy. But in 2021, 2022, 2023, that was all we did was social. And it got us to be a successful company, millions and millions and millions in sales. However, we're getting to the point now where, because the way the scene has changed with TikTok and TikTok Shop and Buyer, the way we advertise was not in your face like QVC style. Our whole philosophy with advertising and marketing has always been like, let's just show them like, hey, this game is fun. We're going to play it and you're going to have fun too. And you guys are going to buy it. And that's pretty much been it. Like, we never really shoved it down anybody's throats. We live streamed every night for years and just played the game. We'd make hundreds of sales a live stream every night just by people watching and them not even really pitching them or anything. We'd just be like, here's the game, here's how you play, you should get it because you'll have fun. Now with TikTok Shop, we're not even allowed to do that type of advertising anymore, which is a shame. Like, if we were to go on a live stream and do the same thing and play and just like be casual about it, we would get banned. Essentially, you get little hashes on your account. I forget how many you get, but if you don't have the product in its box up front and center, like QVC style, you get certain hash marks on your account. And if you get a certain, like, I think it's 14 on TikTok right now, you get a certain account, your shop gets banned. So what's really unfortunate about that is it gets us to the point where we have to shift our content to be, like, honestly lame, like really stupid. Like, I don't want to sit there and watch somebody being like, and here's Popdarts, and like, look at the box. And they're like, you want to see the game being played and people having fun. So that whole landscape has shifted. We still do all of it. We still get sales, but you kind of we've had to switch our marketing efforts to be more of like a really top of funnel, like big picture approach, like our whole like MER focus, not really return on ad spend focus. So that's been our shift, and we're really trying to get back into a little bit more of like a paid media side this year and putting a lot more effort into that. We have not done any, like, our first few years, we maybe spent $20,000 or so in paid advertising. And that was just like Google, like brand protection, essentially. So this is a new landscape that we're learning. So again, like, it worked for a while. It's working maybe a little bit now, but not nearly as well as it did before. So you got to figure something out, and that's what we're doing. And honestly, it's pretty exciting, and it keeps things fresh to find a new avenue of sales.
Yeah, 100%. You're quite data driven then, would you say?
Yes, you kind of have to be.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely take the data. I think the thing about that I've seen with data, and I am very much a data type of person, I'm analytical, and I like to think of like, okay, this is why this did this, and here's the math, here's how it all added up. But so often it's how you read the data that really matters, and kind of pairing that with your gut or your kind of intuition of where things are headed, or maybe organically, or where the product's going. So yeah, you would be silly not to collect, analyze, review all the data points, but it's just a matter of, okay, why is that saying that? Maybe there's a reason that's underlying that you need to kind of take a little bit closer look at, or look under the hood. Because we've made mistakes. I've made mistakes on inventory when I'm thinking, okay, why this inventory is going incredibly well. This particular SKU, I need to order XYZ. And if you just read the data and don't think about cannibalization or introducing new SKUs or introducing new colorways, or why did that do so well in that snippet period of time, and really analyzing it from that perspective, you can read the data wrong, I think is my point. Yeah.
As time goes on, you really have to, it changes between your KPIs of that data changes. We're always looking at data, but like early on, our KPIs were how many sales did we get? How many orders came through? How much traffic went to the website? Now the KPIs are like, what's our click-through rate on this video? Or how into this video did somebody stand? So like you're still, because we can't get like the orders, the attribution dialed in because the way the platform's changed, we still know it's valuable. So then you look at a video now and you're like, how can we continue to make these videos better and more viral? So it's just, your KPIs will change over time, but you're always looking at data. You have to, or else you're just going to fall behind.
Do you have favorite metrics that you keep track of then? Like you mentioned MER. Are there any other ones on the website side of things?
Yeah, a couple we're always trying to improve on. Obviously, conversion rate. If you take your conversion rate from a 1 to a 2, you're going to be able to double your ad spend. So that's one thing we're really looking at. Another thing we're looking at is average order value. Recently shared with us, he's got another brand. One big thing that's really helped him is making sure he's coming out with products that are, and this is something that we did not do and we learned early on, making sure you're coming up with complementary products and not cannibalization products. And what we did is we had a game that was great and still is great, but it had we had colors. And then if you have one set, you can play with 2 people because it's 2 different colors. If you buy 2 sets, you can play with 4 people. You buy 3 sets, 6 people, you get the picture. But then it's like some people, most of the time they're going to play with probably up to 6 people. But then we kept introducing colors. So we saw like, hey, people are going to buy this, they're going to buy this, they're going to buy this. So 3 sets is good. Let's come out with more colors. It just kept selling. So we did that. But then you're always going to have your loyalists that buy every single thing that you put out. So that's kind of an outlier and it's great. But the majority of people probably only need 3 to 4 different pro packs to play with. So if that's the case, if you're looking at that, now we need to come up with products that are, how do you make this game even better and more fun outside of more colors? So that's been fun. We came up with like a tower shot that was like from a live stream. It was just like an ancillary product that was off to the side, kind of like a teaser where if you went for it, you might not score any points, but if you got it, it'd be 5 points. And so we did that we added that one. We're coming up with a new one this year that I can't quite talk about yet, but it's going to be super fun. To me, I've been playing the game for several years, many, many hours on live stream. And it's the same game. It's still fun all the time, but this really like changes it and makes every round so much more exciting if you've been playing for a while. So I'm pumped about that one. But just from that conversation is really cool because like, as you're trying to grow your business, because you were looking for these complementary products to add and increase AOV so that it would make sense for somebody to buy that. But by looking for that, we then can take the time to step back and say, okay, what can we create? And it just makes it a good business decision to create something more. And then it ends up being great for the community because everybody is going to love this thing. I'm super pumped. I love it and I love the game. So I'm sure it's going to be great.
And you get to evolve the game and give it kind of more life you've probably got customers that have been playing it years as well. They get longer life out of it then.
Yeah, absolutely.
How have you found the sort of changing landscape in terms of measurement, attribution, trackability? Yeah,
that's the tough part. I mean, that goes back as far as what feels like yesterday, but like also feels like 5 years ago or however long it's been. When Apple pushed that update, it just like threw everybody into a world of hurt in terms of metadata and attribution. It started with that, and it continued with TikTok and then TikTok Shop and all the other things. Purchases were still pretty attributable, even on socials. A lot of people were still going to the link in your bio. You could see traffic through Shopify. Shopify can track a lot of that stuff well once they do land on your site. But now we've got things like you're not even allowed to say link in bio on TikTok anymore if you have a TikTok shop in your business. So that kind of goes out the window a little bit. So you got to send them to TikTok Shop, and you don't have that data. And then on Instagram, they have their product tags. It does send them to your website eventually, but you're not seeing who abandoned looking at that card. So you don't know how many people are actually, you're just seeing who actually came over. So you can't really attribute those things or know how to retarget those people. So attribution becomes very difficult. And we're in a season now where I think it's the most difficult that it's been in a while. So myself and several other, friends in the industry, we've kind of really just switched to, like we said before, more your entire marketing efficiency ratio, how much you spend on marketing, how much revenue comes in. And what's frustrating about that is you can't pivot as quickly. You have to really take things a month, a quarter, a year at a time. When it comes to big plays, like maybe an influencer strategy or a market, like a top of funnel marketing strategy on Meta that, is valuable, but it's not really converting at a ROAS that you need it to. So yeah, it's definitely more difficult, but it is doable still. It just takes a little bit of a different approach.
And so looking at the next 6 to 12 months, what are your big goals?
Yeah, I mean, really along that same line is just pivoting, building out what I think is really important, just to level out our sales channels. Right now, we were super heavy into TikTok early on with just getting all those views, and that was the only place we were. So it's easy to attribute sales when the only people that know about your product are on TikTok. But as that clearly has grown and we're getting into multiple different social channels plus word of mouth, people are creating leagues. There's so many different ways people are hearing about Popdarts now. We thought, okay, well, we need to diversify with our sales channels that we're in. And brick and mortar, honestly, this year is where we're putting a little bit more emphasis, which is kind of contrary to the typical landscape of e-commerce. But just knowing that, we thought first, we need to first support by building that social channel up to, I think we're over 1.5 million followers now. We get millions of views every month on social, and that's a social media presence that can support a retailer, that can inevitably drive people into the stores, because we're all still going to stores occasionally here and there, even our age. So it's like, for someone to you could catch yourself in the car scrolling social media for a second, you see one of our videos, and then you go walk into XYZ retailer and you see it on the shelf. And it was that video right before you walked in there that maybe was the first or second or third kind of touch that we've had hitting you from a marketing standpoint, but then you walk into that retail store. So I think for 2025, we're really focused on how do we partner with the right retailers, not every retailer, because we definitely want to position our brand in a certain way. But yeah, we're really excited about that. Shields Sporting Goods, that's a great retailer that we have, and they just have pretty much every one of our products, and they do a phenomenally, just a great job selling through. So yeah, I think 2025 is just kind of building out that stool. We have our Amazon business, we have our website business, but we were kind of missing that piece of the puzzle.
Do you have any advice for aspiring entrepreneurs?
Where do you start?
I think that's actually a good point. I think if you have an idea, you just have to. You have to start. You can't just overanalyze. You can't try to think through everything. I think actually, I think Barbara Corcoran, I heard her say something recently, and it was basically she basically said, I don't care about your business plan because it's not going to play out that way. So I would say take your business plan or whatever you've come up with a grain of salt. If you believe you've got a great idea, then you just got to go for it and start taking practical steps. You can plan things out all you want, but I guarantee you it's not going to go the way. Josh and I still joke because we had a business plan and how we were going to launch, and we haven't even gotten to that yet, which is crazy. We're 4 years in, 5 years in, and our grand business plan, or this is how Popdarts is going to make it. I haven't even had time to go down that route yet.
Because the business will take you a different direction. And yeah, to the point that Jason's making on just starting, you can study, think through, analyze all you want, but the lessons that you're going to learn from failing are way more valuable than the lessons that you'll learn in a textbook or Googling or researching or whatever. So I think that's been the key thing for us is one, just start before you're ready and make those mistakes so that you can quickly overcome them and learn from them. the more expensive the mistake, we've said this a number of times, the more expensive the mistake, the more ingrained it is into your head. I'm never going to make that mistake again. But then the other thing too is just I thought, and I don't know if other people think this, but I thought, oh, I need to come up with something novel to bring it to market. I need to come up with something that no one's seen before. And I think that's extremely difficult, if not impossible, with, we're in 2025. Every idea
Everything
that's
comes from something.
Yeah, someone's already thought of. So even our game is an iteration upon iteration of different games. I mean, suction cups are novel. They've been around for quite some time. Getting closest to something, that's pretty, that's common knowledge.
A T-ball.
The scoring, how we scored is extremely similar to like cornhole. We're just taking...
remind me a bit about cornhole.
Yeah, just taking bits and pieces. So you don't need to come up with an idea that's like, this is no one has ever thought of, but what you can do is come up with an idea that is better than something that anyone's done before, or improves upon something that someone is currently doing. So I think those two barriers, like don't overanalyze and don't think you need a perfect product to start. You just need to start and figure it out from there.
But also like be passionate about the products. Like I remember I was going down an Amazon rabbit hole when like Amazon like white labeling was huge years back, and did all my product research and like, which product has demand but doesn't have a lot of sellers, and like where can I fit myself into and let Amazon rank, push me up. And that's the rabbit hole that I was going down when Josh hit me up about this product. And the reason why I was like, yeah, this sounds a lot better, because full disclosure, and if anybody's listening and they want to start a business and they don't care if it's fun or not, there is a little bit of a great product segment for fireplace tongs. So there's based on search volume, there's a decent amount of demand and not a lot of people offering them. Maybe because it's lame, I don't know. But the point is, you're going to run into so many issues. And if I was selling fireplace tongs, and I didn't have a customer base behind us that loved the product, and like a community of people that like I'm connecting with every day, and everybody's like loving playing the game and hosting tournaments and excited for our tournament coming up here on ESPN in August, like fun things that we can do like that, like you need that. Like you need a product you can put your name behind and get you through like working till 2 a.m. or 7 days a week or whatever it is. Because at that point, it's not work. Like you're having fun and you're building something, which is exciting.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. That was an awesome conversation. I think a lot of value for aspiring entrepreneurs in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Thanks,
absolutely.
James. Appreciate you having us on.